Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is Sunday Night Live. That's me, you in the zoo. We're going to start off this week with the challenge from last week. This is a brand new bottle of Glenlivet 15-year Scotch whiskey. And there she is. Now, the question was, and it kind of came up for all of us, is, well, can you light a Scotch on fire? And so that's really the big question. Can we light it on fire? So I got the ceremonial Scotch opening knife from, that would be Nikki. It's always fun opening a bottle of Scotch. Holy crap. Anyways, bear with me. We are going to light it on fire. Now, I did test it last week. After the show, a couple of days later, A couple of days later, I lit one on fire, and I was like, okay, it works. It happens. It's good. Anyways, we'll do it. All right, I don't need this anymore. What the fuck do I do with this now? There's not as much room in the bunker when you're sitting at a desk. All right. You know, there's two shots that are really good. Well, they're all good. But the first one out of the bottle and the last. Anyways, let me get rid of that. A little bit of excess. Woo, mama. Here we go. Right, we'll pour us one here. Now, once again, only the fumes. Only the fumes are flammable. So I'm going to light it, turn off the lights in front of me. Hopefully you can see the flame, but Mr. Ooman and I, and we're playing, who is that guy? Oliver, Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm going to light a piece of tissue on fire to prove that it's just in case. Anyways, let's got my come on. You can do it there. There we go. Is it lit? Fuck, how can I tell? Is it fucking lit? See, you can't tell until you turn off all the fucking lights. There. Wow. God dang. Can you guys see that? You see the flames that are kind of glowing around it? There it is. There it is. Kids, don't try that at home. Woo! Okay, well, it's hot now. You guys can see that flameage? Now, that, my friends, is a real Scotch. And I probably just got in trouble with, the angels of the Almighty, because many of you know about the angel's share. And that is anything that evaporates off of a cask. That's fucking hot as fuck. Anything that evaporates out of a cask goes to the angels. Well, what was evaporating out of the glass just got burned up. So we may have some splaining to do to some angels because we burned up their we burned up their share of that shot. Anyways, look out. Got to make sure the glass is cooled off here before I put my freaking lips on it. Anyways, I want to start out the show with this scotch and a toast to Chin Music. His family had a very special day, and it is one worth remembering and honoring. And he did a $55.56 super chat donation. So to you, Mr. Chin Music, make sure that's cool. That flame is freaking hot when it's burning. Mr. Chin Music, to you, your daughter, your family, the future, everything, Semper Fi, folks, to the United States of America, to the red, white, and blue, to the Constitution, to freedom and liberty, I say Semper Fi, Godspeed. That is just good. A little bit warmer than normal. Anyways, any super chat donation, $50 or more, buys me, this guy, a single malt Glenlivet 15-year scotch. All right, Chin Music says, the main wish of any father is for the safety and security of his little girl. Mine is in Italy and just found out she's going into the future with a red-blooded American gentleman by her side. Man, I'm lucky. Just wanted to pass along some good news for a change. Now, back to fuck Joe Biden and World War III. Half the Russian Navy is partying in Cuban nightclubs as we speak. Here we go. And again, fuck Joe Biden. Anyways, Chin Music, I didn't want to come out and say yes. His daughter, a beautiful American girl, proposed to by a handsome American real man who asked for her hand in marriage from the father, from Chin Music, before asking his daughter. He sent me the video of it. It's a tearjerker. It's just a thing of beauty, folks. That's what America used to be. Americana. Decency, goodness. It doesn't mean we're not rough. It doesn't mean we're not ready for a fight and everything else. But just decency, right? Just decency. Anyways, thank you, Chin Music, and congratulations, brother. That's just an incredible, heartfelt, everything good. And thank you for the scotch as well. I want to jump over to Mr. Skylight. I want to do his quote right at the beginning of the show. And he says this: power is not given, it is taken. That's from Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome, governing for 4 decades, from 27 BC to 14 AD. Power is not given, it is taken. Now, as an American, we look at this and go, wait a minute. Didn't we, as Americans, give power to the U.S. government through the Constitution? Well, we presented the authority through the Constitution, and the government, yes, they gladly took it. And now they're exercising it more and more on a daily basis. There you go, folks. Beautiful stuff. Thank you, Chin Music. And now, let us keep moving on. Where are we going next? Darcy T is checked in. That's right. Darcy T is checked in with her $50 super chat donation. And she does this every week. So, again, to you, Darcy T, thank you. Ooh, pop that cork again. There we are. There's that bottle. There's number 2 to kick the show off, to get me well lubricated. Get my brains all limbered up. There's to you, Darcy T. Semper Fi. God bless America. Smooth as butter. Darcy's question, she says, now this is interesting. If we can't hold an election in November for some reason, what are our options? Could they suspend just the presidential election for a period of time and leave all of the state and local elections intact? Are there any provisions for this? And she says, cheers, and cheers to you, Darcy T. Because I just got the question just now. I didn't get a chance to research it. I haven't had a chance to, thank you, Jolene. I didn't have a chance to research your question. But I can't think of an entire time in all of American history when they suspended an election. Now, there's two places where I think it could have happened. Number one, the War of 1812. If the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1789, then it was less than 25 years later that the War of 1812, which was Britain attacking the United States of America again. That would have been a time. The next time would have been the Civil War, when Abraham Lincoln, right? He suspended a lot of things, folks. He suspended writ of habeas corpus. In other words, you can arrest somebody and you do not have to produce the body. Show me the body, habeas corpus. But I don't think elections were suspended. But I will probably go so far as to say that no rebel states were allowed into those elections, especially since those rebel states in the South said, hey, we've got our own state governments, our own president now. We've seceded. We're on the cusp of something very much like that. History does not repeat, they say. Others do say. But I believe it was Samuel Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, who said, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. That scotch is good, I tell you. So here we are. Darcy says, what are our options? Well, the Constitution has a requirement every 4 years. There is no provision for a war. There is no emergency provision in there. There is no what if an asteroid hit. There is no what if the president's an asshole. There's not that kind of provision. There is no option. It says every 4 years. So you say, could they suspend just the presidential election for a period of time and leave all of the state and local elections intact? Well, my thing is here is, well, a state is allowed to hold its own elections. State for local representatives, state senators, state governors. We are, all of us, in our own independent republics, aka states. Right now, understand, a state is a country. That's why in Washington, D.C., they have a Secretary of State. The Secretary of State represents the United States government, which is supposed to represent all of the American 50 United States, these United States. So there is no provision to suspend the federal election. See, the federal constitution, or rather national constitution, is only for national elections and national governance. And the 10th Amendment says all rights not expressly given to the federal government or the national government or the United States government, if you will, are reserved to the states and the people. So the United States government, the thing in DC, that Leviathan, that stinking, filthy, dirty beast of a government in Washington, D.C., is its own entity, separate and distinct from our state and local elections. So when you say, could they just suspend the presidential election and all the states can do what they want? Well, yes, we have the right as states and as the people within the states to hold our own elections. If the president of the United States, Joe Alfred E. Newman Biden, Scotch, man, I tell you, it's good stuff. If Alfred E. Newman Biden, fucking idiot, if he wanted to cancel the elections, how would he do it? What is the mechanism by which they could? Now, the Constitution has rules. There's two ways government operates: may and must. May and must. You may do something or you must do something. That's it for government. And one is an option, may. The other is mandatory, must. It doesn't say the government may hold an election every 4 years for the president, 2 years for congressmen, and 6 years for senators, right? I was like, do some math, John. That's it. It's not a may, it's a must. They must do it. So if they're going to violate the rules, they, meaning the United States government, has to have an excuse. What could possibly be that excuse? Washington, D.C. hit by a nuclear bomb? Is that going to stop me and you and all 50 states from voting? Well, it may cook Maryland a little bit. But seriously, right? They would have to declare an emergency. An emergency. Now, we have been operating, believe it or not, under an economic emergency that was signed into existence. Are you ready for this? In 1932 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He declared a national economic emergency that has not been rescinded since then. We went from being under constitutional law to constitutional policy. And that's my policy. We're sticking to it. Right? So basically, the Constitution now is more like guidelines than actual rules. I swear, the Pirates of the Caribbean took that line just so I could use it to say that's how they treat the Constitution now. It's more like guidelines, policy, than actual rules, meaning law. And here we are, Darcy. Are there provisions for it? No. This whole Emergency Act thing, since the declaration of emergency under FDR, we now have executive orders. Executive orders, yeah, the president can just say, well, under this emergency power, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And the president of the United States, I think, is acting completely unconstitutionally. Every one of them, from the time of FDR, follow me now, to who was next? Harry Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, very briefly Ford. Let's keep going, right? Jimmy Carter. Then we're going to go to Ronald Reagan. Then we're going to go to George H.W. Bush. Then Bill Clinton. Then George W. Bush. Then asshole Barack Obama. Then President Trump. Then and now Joe Alfred E. Newman Biden. Every one of those presidents has had an opportunity to rescind that, and they haven't, including Trump, including Reagan. We're still operating under emergency powers through the executive branch, under guidelines, not rules. That was a fucking mouthful. And that was $105.56 in Super Chat donations right there. I got to finish this off. Okay. And yes, when I finally got the scotch hot enough and it ignited, and then I lit the piece of tissue on paper, I didn't think it was going to be that hard to put out, man. I almost set myself on fire. That's what I was saying, man. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't light shit on fire all the time. I am not a firebug. Folks, we're at 238 people live right now. I want you to hit that thumbs up if you love arson. Just kidding. I do not love arson. I do love fireworks, and I love a good show. And that's what we get every Sunday Night Live, especially. Not only do you do a thumbs up, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you want to see some giant Swede set his alcohol on fire and then drink it, go for it. Now, also, Share the internet address at the top of the screen. Share it with friends, family, coworkers, loved ones, people you hate. Make it their choice to reject the message or accept it and say, thank you. I'm finally waking up. Folks, what is it? Ms. Rose, I can't remember the rest of her name, is continuing, and she's a black woman with shortly cropped blonde hair. Is continuing to say, and I'm paraphrasing, that you can't fool us anymore. We're off the plantation. We're tired of being lied to by Democrats. She's voting for Trump. Good. Stop buying the lie. Right now, if the Democrats, right, if their promise was to help black people escape whatever they're escaping back in the 1960s when they started the war on poverty, I guess the war on poverty, folks, back then, back in the 1960s and backwards, even though there were civil rights issues with black Americans, guess what they had? Strong nuclear families, strong morals, strong communities, a sense of unity and purpose, a sense of individual greatness, a sense of potential. Now what do we have? We have disgusting pigs twerking on cop cars. We have gangs of idiot youths fighting in the streets amongst each other. We have calls for racist attacks and hatred of white people. Why? Why are we having that after over 50 years of the war on poverty? Does it look like vast swaths of America have been left behind? Thank you, Democrats. It is because rewarding immorality, right, doesn't create morality and goodness and hard work. It doesn't create a better system in life. All right, folks, this is your show. Sunday Night Live, there's a super chat button up here, and there's also Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal down below in the description of the video. If you want to do a super chat and get your question right here on the screen, I will read it. This is your show. This is your chance. It's not just me coming to you from the bunker. This is me saying, what do you want to talk about? What's important to you? What does America need to hear? What is going on right now? And before I get to the next question, I need to address Chin Music's comment about Russia and its Navy being in Havana right now, partying it up with hot Cuban chicks at some Cuban bar somewhere. Well, there are, I think, 2 surface naval ships and one, folks, one nuclear-powered submarine that may have nuclear weapons with it. In other words, the Russian version of Russia doesn't have a navy like the United States, right? We have an aircraft carrier group that's an aircraft carrier, 1 or 2 destroyers, some frigates, freaking troop carriers, 1 or 2 submarines, right? It's a carrier group. Basically, it's like a world superclass naval power, but we have multiple carrier groups, and they go everywhere supporting each other and making sure that, people don't fuck with us. Now, Russia's got their version, and right now it's down in Cuba. And Cuba, folks, is less than 100 miles off the tip of Florida. My Florida. Now, this is the Cuban Missile Crisis was in the John F. Kennedy administration. The Cuban Missile Crisis was because Russia, or rather the Soviet Union, a bunch of communists, they're not communists anymore, but the communist Soviet Union, Russia, put nuclear missiles inside of Cuba. And the United States went, hey, you are not doing that. Because you can launch those missiles, light up America, and we can't do anything about it. That was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Essentially, we were this close to nuclear war in 1962-63. And John F. Kennedy had his head blown to smithereens in November of 1963. Because after the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs, right? Kennedy said he was going to shatter the CIA, who started the Bay of Pigs invasion, a paramilitary rogue invasion by the CIA of Cuba, which, by the way, if you look at a map, Cuba is a very, very large island nation. Look at Jamaica next to it. Jamaican me silly, right? Cuba's a huge country. It's not as big as Florida, but it's pretty damn big. Anyways, Cuba. Been communist ever since then, still under control by the Castros. So right now, yes, there are 2 surface ships and 1 nuclear submarine in Cuba. They may be partying it up with some Cuban hot babes. But here's the deal. They're going to get back on their ships, back on their boat, and hopefully they go back up the coast towards Washington, D.C. Because the problem is not Florida or Texas. The problem is not Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, or Louisiana. If they were to light up any place like Pensacola or MacDill Air Force Base or any other military base down here, what lesson would that teach Washington, D.C.? Wouldn't teach Washington anything, right? I don't think they're here to nuke anybody. I think it's a show of force. A show of force. Quite an interesting mess. I almost did a Laurel and Hardy. Does anyone even remember Laurel and Hardy? Black and white television, a big fat guy, skinny guy, right? He said, "This is another fine mess you've gotten us into." That's where we're at now. Another fine mess these idiots in Washington, D.C. have gotten us into. Okay, this is your show, as I said. Share the internet address, hit the thumbs up, and Mr. Uman, woo, those first 2 shots always start the show off good. Let's do this. If we got some super chat donations out there, who wants to talk about what they want to talk about? I've got lots of stuff to talk about. And Dan Erickson has checked in with a $50 super chat donation. He says, just making sure we're on the up and up. Thanks. Dan the man. You betcha. Let us continue. But please, don't gang up on me, okay? Guys, we need all the support we can get. Financially, and the $50 and all super chat donations go into the pay the bills. And my hand smells like barbecued dog now. It's kind of, we cooked all the hairs off my fingers when that freaking piece of tissue. I may have got a little teeny bit of scotch on it that kept it flaming. Anyways, your super chat donations pay the bills. Keep us going. And yeah. And I really want to thank you all. Whether you do a $5 or a $50 or the $500, it doesn't matter. I want to thank you all. I love you all. I want you to be prepared. I want you to be ready for what the hell is coming, because it's serious. It's serious business. Dan, thank you, brother. You're a good man. Semper Fi. God bless America. It just gets better and better and better and better. God. Okay, folks. There's just something about scotch. It's almost like it's a heavenly thing. It really is. You know, they did water into wine in Cana, but anyways, thank you very much, Big Dan. I really appreciate it. You've been a great supporter of the channel. I know you're just messing with me and playing games, but it made for an exciting start of the show, I'll tell you. Woo! Now, while we're waiting for more super chats, I want to talk to you about not the Russian Navy down in Cuba, but the U.S. Navy. The commanding officer of the USS Somerset, which is, by the way, I believe an amphibious landing ship, the commanding officer has been fired. The Navy fired this female commanding officer, citing a loss of confidence in leadership. Loss of confidence. Okay, so Russia is primed, and it's kicking the stuffings out of the Ukrainian military, which is being supplemented by mercenaries and, of course, American money and military power and European money and military power. And now, I can't remember what country, I think it was Poland. Poland was going to give them some F-15s to Ukraine, not Russia. And before, Ukraine was like, those are outdated, they're no good, this and that. And now they're like, oh, please give it to us. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, folks. Okay. So the United States military is supporting and finding ways to waste its time. And now we have this U.S. commanding officer. And here we go. I've got comments from a real United States Navy sailor named Hunter's Lighter. So you can guess his jokes about Hunter Biden and his crack smoking lighter. He was in the Navy over 400 years ago. And this was his response. He says, when I read a story like this, it seems obvious that the captain was an affirmative action hire. Right? But more importantly, having some experience with the Navy, albeit over 40 years ago, I'm familiar with what it takes for a commanding officer to be relieved of duty. Now, with all that in mind, and with consideration of the current political climate, what sort of incompetent tyrant did the Navy set loose on the crew of the USS Somerset? What nonsense and unnecessary crap were these young sailors subjected to in the name of the DEI nonsense? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? Yeah. Right. He said, these sailors signed a blank check, their lives, and handed it to the government. They deserve better than to be led by fools who happen to mark the most boxes on some half-baked communist checklist. When I read that, I thought, now that guy was a sailor. And as a Marine, as a soldier, as an airman, right, you understand that you put your life on the line for freedom, liberty, and the American people. You obey orders that come from your chain of command and the president, yes. But that's not who you're serving. You're serving the people. So considering that the Biden government, the Biden administration, the Biden Pentagon, the left-wing Barack Obama, loaded with communist officers Pentagon, put this woman in charge of the USS Somerset as the commanding officer, and she's been relieved of duty, even though they have these DEI mandates to put the most woke-looking person into charge, into command. How bad did she completely fuck things up? How bad were those sailors abused? How bad was the morale? Did the other officers threaten mutiny and call the Pentagon and go, get this DEI jackass out of here? This is a United States Navy ship of war. Folks, that's how bad it is. That is how bad it is. So when Russia's down there having some Cuban rum and Cuban cigars, let's pray that they're not going to do something very bad. Now, in the hunt for the Red October, Captain Ranius, and this is all fiction, folks, brought his missile boat, the Red October, out of Polyarny and down to North America. And they were supposed to go past New York and do missile drills and listen to their rock and roll and then go down to Cuba and have a party. Well, Russia's in Cuba having a party. They may go back up north and head towards Polyarny. Who knows? What we do know is it's not a good situation, and the military is being, how do I put this? improperly led. The Navy, I've seen and heard of a lot of really unsatisfactory Marines and soldiers coming out of, and including the Air Force officers coming out of the Pentagon. Good God. Now, Chin Music is back with another super chat donation, a 2223 super chat donation. Thank you again, Mr. Chin Music out there. Mr. Uman, keep an eye out for Chin Music. Uman. Okay. An update on the Rhino Republicans. This is from Chin Music. He says AIPAC spent $400,000 to primary Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie refused to send money to Israel because they have a budget surplus. They labeled him anti-Semitic and pro-Hamas. We need to send a loud message to these shitbags that not supporting Israel is neither. It is neither anti-Israel nor anti-Semitic. It is America first. Period. That is a major distinction. Man, these guys suck. Primary all rhinos. In other words, AIPAC, right? The Israeli lobby, I'm going to call it industry. I am not, folks, head over heels kissing the ass of Israel. I am about the people of the planet being treated the best as possible. The Israeli people, fine. Israeli government, right? Palestinian people, as long as you're not a terrorist, I'm all for you. If you're a Palestinian and you want to kill Americans and kill Jews and kill Syrians and Egyptians and kill Europeans and kill Chinese and kill everyone else, you're not good. You're a terrorist. Get the fuck out. Okay, that's how I look at everything, right? I love the Russian people. I'm not a fan of Russian government. The Ukraine people, love them, not a fan of Ukraine government. I'm not a fan of bad people. And most people in government are bad people. I understand governments are charged with governing a nation and protecting a nation. So the government of Israel, follow me here, is charged with protecting the country and people of Israel. Now, the point that Chin Music brought up here is the government of Israel has a surplus. They don't need our money. Why do we need to give Israel money when they have so much money? They've done so well in business and commerce and whatever else they do for a freaking gross domestic product, their economy. They've got plenty of money if they've got a surplus. Let them tax their people. Let them go in debt with the banking system to pay for their own defense, the way the United States says. Name another country on the planet, please, that taxes the fuck out of their people and then sends the money to us in America. You can't, because it's just not happening. Just not happening, folks. And this is why I need to drink decaf, because I get so pissed off, folks. The deplorable man, myself, www.cafefe.com. Great coffee, folks. They're great supporters of liberty, and I want to thank them for sending me coffee. It is good coffee. Every morning, I have a cup. Whew. Even on the weekends. Anyways, thank you, cafefe.com. And this reference to the Prepared Mind, this internet address should get you a discount. Anyways, they're a great company, great support there. We don't have what you would call corporate sponsors. I wish we did. Then I wouldn't be saying, hey, do super chat donations on Sunday Night Live, and I'll get your questions on here. And if we made $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month, that'd be great. You know, we would just answer questions all the time. But as it is, folks, here we are. We just crossed 300 people live. So share that internet address up there. If you just came on and haven't done it, hit that thumbs up. Let's have some fun, folks. Because this week, it's going to get stupid. I'm telling you, stupid. And speaking of stupid, another Democrat presidential candidate is gone off the ballot. Joe Biden still has no one else to compete against in the Democrat Party. This time, a Democrat Atlanta prosecutor. Oh, wait, don't we have one of those? Oh, yeah. The district attorney is fat-ass Fannie Willis. So I guess one of her sub-prosecutors has been jailed for stealing, folks, $15 million of COVID money, COVID funds. I'd like to know where to go to steal $15 million. If I wanted to do it, I would have to get together Yvonne and Kaz, Newman and Jolene, and we'd have to do some sort of Ocean's 11 thing and go to a casino to steal $15 million. But apparently in government, you can just fucking steal all you want until you get caught. Anyways, this stupid broad, this Democrat prosecutor bought a Rolls Royce. Do you know what those things cost? They cost way more than I'm worth. And not only did she do that, she bought a 10-carat diamond ring. 10 carats. Fuck, what is that? That's like a $200,000 to $500,000 ring. Another Democrat goes to jail for being stupid. So stupid that she got caught. Unbelievable. Just when I said the other day, when you've got a government working for the people, accountable to the people, the country does okay. The country does okay. When you've got a government that is trying to destroy the country and they know they're destroying the country, then basically it's a big looting exercise. They're screwing the country over with the open border, sending money offshore, laundering it through Ukraine and other countries, right? So they can steal all they can before they end up destroying everything about the country. Just crazy, folks, crazy. And expect it to get worse. $15 million this week. What's it going to be next? What do you want to talk about, folks? Hit that super chat button right up there, and I'll get your questions on screen, and we'll make you famous, or not. You can just do an anonymous question. You don't have to use your name or use your neighbor's name or your friend's name, or you don't have to use a professional basketball player's name. No, you don't. And speaking of professional basketball players, I never was one, even though I was 6'7" at my height. Nope, white guys can't jump. Anyways, I don't watch basketball anymore. Professional sports are just fucking losers because they don't have any morality or decency. They don't set good examples. All they are is about the money and being complete just assholes. And I'm not talking about just basketball. I'm talking about football. I'm talking about baseball. May as well throw in hockey there. I mean, I know there's good people within the sports, but for the most part, the leagues, that scotch is working. For the most part, the leagues are just full of assholes, including the leagues themselves. But I've got a great example, and I wish to see more of this. The Boston Celtics coach, Joe Mazzulla, he was asked a race-baiting BS question, and he responded. Essentially, the question was about, hey, we haven't had two black head coaches at the NBA Finals, well, since 1975. And I thought, 1975? That's almost 50 years ago. There were two black, or African-American, if you will, head coaches whose teams were playing in the NBA Finals. Sounds like there hasn't been a problem. So what's the big deal? Why are we making this an issue? Anyways, he was asked this race-baiting question, right? Playing the race card, playing this. Well, Mazzulla had a simple but powerful response. And this was his response. Quote, I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches. End quote. Silence, right? Silenced them. Why are we making this about race? Why not make it about morality and decency? Anyways, congratulations to Joe Mazzulla for giving the media what they need, and that's a slap to the face. Literally, a slap to the face. It is Sunday Night Live, folks. It's me, you, and we're in the zoo. And there is a lot going on, folks. A lot going on. We've got a presidential election. The thumbnail for today was President Trump. Folks, we don't have any choices. We've got one choice, vote for Trump. Not voting is not going to solve any problems. Voting for Biden, that's not going to solve any problems. Voting for a left-wing, filthy, diseased, mentally perverted, so-called libertarian is not going to fix our problems. Voting for RFK Jr. is not going to fix problems. It's Trump. But he's running against Joe Biden, the Democrat, the incumbent. And Joe Biden said this, folks, that being in France, he was in France over the weekend for D-Day memorialization. That is the Ally invasion of France to secure it, liberate it from Germany in World War II. Joe Biden said being in France makes him think of his Uncle Bozy. I believe Uncle Bozy was eaten by cannibals in the Pacific Theater of World War II. I didn't know Uncle Bozy was in France on D-Day in Europe in World War II. You know, Biden is a complete a-hole. And what's even worse than that is the fact that the media is completely ignoring his gross dementia, his mental incapacity. He's continuing to lie about himself, his family, his record, everything. Every time he opens his mouth, he says something, some incredible lie, fabrication, where he went to college, what he's done for a job. It is beyond insulting at this point. It's beyond insulting at this point. Just incredible. How can we even consider this guy? I can't. I mean, I've heard people say the number of things they would do, right, to protect this country from that guy. And speaking of doing there's a new dance craze out there. It's called the Biden. Essentially, you stop moving and you squat down like you're shitting in your pants. And it's a joke. It's all over social media. People doing the Biden. Because that's what he did. It right in front of Macron and not a doctor, Jill Biden, and the whole world, crapped his pants. He didn't just let off a steamer. He squatted. This is the president of the United States. It is truly, folks, truly awful. The left, every example that I can think of is just awful. Like this, there was a woman, back to Atlanta, Georgia, a woman in the Atlanta suburbs. She has been arrested because she threw 2 Molotov cocktails. Or rather, she threw Molotov cocktails at 2 different houses. This was a 61-year-old woman. Democrat, obviously. Just thinking, well, fuck it, I'm going to start throwing Molotov cocktails. The police have not said what the motivation is. But I'm willing to bet that it was personal vendetta. 61-year-old Asian woman, no less. I think her cheese slipped right off her cracker. Another leftist arsonist wacko. What, did she see a film? Folks, this film was released today of one of the black-clad January 6 protesters. Remember, they were Americans wearing red, white, and blue, flannel, military camouflage, their uniforms, waving American flags, protesting. They were arrested and thrown in jail. Some of them are still in jail. Well, they released a film. Some footage, folks, get this, from inside the Capitol, where one of the Antifa type BLM dressed all black with a helmet, black mask, was walked in, handcuffed, was unhandcuffed, did a knuckle bump with one of the police officers, and was released. You know that was an FBI agent provocateur, who was out there causing trouble, got arrested so they could be released out the back door. Just sickening. And the rest of these Democrats think they're entitled to the same treatment. Just do whatever the hell they want, right? And, well, they're not going to get in trouble. How much burning, looting, and murdering did BLM and Antifa and other left-wing lunatics do in 2020? They did that to the tune, folks, of over $4 billion. $4 billion. And how many hundreds of them were rounded up and thrown in prison? I think I've heard of like 3 or 4 being arrested and actually charged. These leftist wackos are leftist wackos. Now, this is your show. It is Sunday Night Live. We're almost at an hour already. That super chat button right up there, right? That's how you get your question on the screen and we talk about your topics. Your topics, folks. Let's do this. Jolene, who's up next? Who wants to say something? Who's got something to say? Who wants to address what's going on? And it's Dan Erickson. And he says a $5 super chat donation. He says, Biden, if that's all they have, good luck. I agree. There is zero excitement for Joe Biden. Zero excitement for Joe Biden. I mean, Trump right now is, I think, in Las Vegas. Over the weekend, he was also in Huntington Beach, which is down by LA, on the beach, obviously. And he is drawing crowds of tens and tens of thousands. People lined up like you wouldn't believe. Boat parades that would make your head spin with boats all flying Trump flags, even in stinking California. But of course, Huntington Beach, San Diego, there are Republican strongholds and there are lots of Republicans. But Biden, no one's excited about him. He couldn't fill a high school gymnasium. He couldn't fill half of a gymnasium. He couldn't fill more than the end of a high school gymnasium. That's the best he's done so far. Maybe 100 people in attendance and 100 people as stage props. Unbelievable. If that's all they have, good luck. Well, I tell you what, we need to turn out, and I'm going to use the current slogan. We need to turn out and vote so big they can't rig it, right? Too big to rig, so they can't steal it. Don't think there's going to be a red wave. Make it happen. Vote, vote, vote your one vote legally. And I would say just as important is to volunteer at your local precinct, your local voting precinct. Find out how to volunteer and help ensure that votes are counted properly, that votes are only counted once, that dead people don't vote, dogs and cats don't vote, and foreigners do not vote. Do all you can to uphold the law, folks. Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Once again, you've been a great supporter of the show with great topics to discuss. Semper Fi, man. Now, I want to continue letting you know who it is that we're fighting against. Who it is that we're fighting against. Over the weekend, 2 things happened that were huge. In Washington, D.C., Our historic monuments were attacked by pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, pro-terrorist groups. They defaced, defamed, defiled statues and monuments to American history. And I saw a national parks law enforcement officer standing in front of one, trying to tell people to knock it off. And they were throwing rocks, drinks, bottles, cans, and garbage at him. No one was arrested. They sprayed red spray paint. They put their Gaza crap, their Palestinian crap all over the place. No one was arrested. On the west coast of America, 3 teenagers were riding their scooters. Little electric scooters, right? 2 wheels and some little handlebar scooters. They're having fun being teenagers, scooting all over the place. Scooty, scoot, 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 being, having fun. Well, their little tires, folks, left black marks on the pride rainbow that was painted on the ground. They've been arrested and they have now been charged with felony hate crimes for driving their scooters on the ground and leaving black marks on some paint. It's not a flag. It's paint. And it's on the ground, making the ground slippery so that things slide around and skid. That's what wheels do. That's what rubber does. It leaves marks. What if I were to walk across one of these pride flags and spit? Right? I inhaled a bug. Right? Spit it out. Is that a hate crime because I spit on their paint? Well, what if I sneezed and right, sneeze out, well, aerosolized snot? Is that a hate crime? Well, I walked on their precious fucking paint. Is that a hate crime? Folks, painted homo ground is now sacred. But your monuments to our country's history, whether it's celebrating our history or just memorializing it and remembering it, right? That's okay to defile. That is what is going on with the Biden administration, the social governance crap, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, the wokeness. And it's not just woke, it's unconstitutional. It's also illegal to paint the street. And if this wasn't a street, it's a sidewalk, then everyone's allowed to walk on it. What if I walked on it with old-fashioned golf shoes that have metal cleats? What if I scratched the paint? Is that a hate crime? Oh, it depends on your politics. Kids don't have politics. Kids are kids. They may have an opinion, but they can't vote. The whole thing is just disgusting, folks, and it's not going to get better. Let's do this now before I lose my shit. We're at 360 people live, 363 people live and going up. Share that internet address. Let's do it. Jolene, who's up next with a super chat donation and a question? Hey, it's Frank Rizzo with a $49.99 super chat donation. And, well, that's the same as a $50 in my book. I don't mind rounding up. And here we go. Another single malt. Glenlivet Scotch it is. Thank you. Your contributions, folks, help keep the lights on in the bunker, keep the bills paid, and put, well, lots of pork products like Spam and also tuna fish in the pantry. Semper Fi, Frank. Godspeed, brother. It's just like mother's milk. He said, best guess, how many total made it since Cheeto Man? Okay, Cheeto Man. Orange Man? How many total made it in since Cheeto Man? Best guess. What I think Frank is referring to, folks. Wow, that's good scotch. How many illegals have made it in the country? My best guess since Cheeto Man. Over the weekend, I caught all kinds of numbers. 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 people pouring across the border, both Chinese and from all over the planet into California. San Diego is being overrun. And San Diego truly is a beautiful city, folks. If you like cities, right? My best guess, Frank. My best guess is we've topped 15 million. That's my best guess. I've seen lots of numbers as low as 10 million. I've heard his number as high as 18. But how do we know, right? They're illegal. It's not like they check in and go, I'm from country X and no, I don't have any papers. And where do I sign? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I've been counted. I'm now part of the new Democrat voting base. Let's just say it is 15 million. So how many votes is Biden going to get out of that? 5 million, 10 million? How many of these illegals, folks, are coming up here and they're not here? They're not here to vote. Trust me, they're not here to vote. These people coming across the border are here for a number of reasons. Let me spell them out. The number one reason they're here is for free shit. Free shit. They believe Americans get everything for free. Like we don't go to work, like we don't work hard, like we don't pay taxes. They think you just come to America and you live the American dream. You get a nice car, you get put in a house. American, like as if the government of America, Washington, D.C., grants us our wishes like a freaking genie out of a bottle. They're here for free shit. That's number one. That's why they're like, put us up in hotels. Give us houses. We want better food. They're complaining. They took over the streets of New York City, marching down the street, making demands. Fucking people are nuts. They're here for free shit. The number two reason I think they're here. Number two, they are here to hustle America, to commit crimes, to victimize stupid, lazy, ignorant, unaware, naive Americans. For example, Mr. Rizzo, there is now a crime wave that's hitting New York City and other cities as well. Illegal immigrants have figured out that Americans have car insurance and that if they get hit by a car, they're going to get a lot of money. So they get hit by a car and then they go and they extort money. They hustle money. Terrified drivers, right? These illegals are jumping in front of cars so that cars lock their brakes up. They jump on the hood, right? And they start screaming, you hit me, you hit me. And they have their friends film it so then they can go to the insurance company and screw them out of money. They're not here to work. They're not here to be productive. They're here for free shit and to screw us over. That's the crime wave. Now, I'll let you know that in Florida, you're not going to get away with that. In Florida, we can run them the fuck over. If you jump in front of a car, that's a violent act. You're trying to extort money out of people. You're acting like a terrorist. You get your ass run over, it's your fault. Now, I'm not saying pedestrians don't have the right of way. I completely think that if someone's walking across the street, I should slow down, allow them to cross, and then continue on my way. But if somebody, right, stops me in traffic in an effort to carjack me or extort money out of me or attack me, I have a right to get the hell out of there and use my car as the battering ram to do it for my safety and the safety of others with me and around me. Not in Florida, but in New York City, look the fuck out. Cheeto Man, 15 million, Frank. That's my guess, man. That's my guess. Oh, and the third reason, right? They're here for free shit. They're here to criminalize everything. And the third one is to join terrorist organizations that they're already a part of and help destroy and bring down America, weaken it, so they can continue to treat it like a third world shithole, like the countries they came from. That's why they're here. My opinion. Thank you, Frank, for the great super chat donation. Woo! I tell you, what a week. We got a good one coming, folks, and it's going to get hot. It's going to get hot and hotter. Every summer it gets hot. This is nothing new. Okay, Jolene, man, we got some stuff to talk about. Who's up next? Dan Erickson with a $5 super chat. He says, I live in a very, very blue state. And in 2019 and 2020, this is pre-COVID now. In 2019 and 2020, there were Biden-Harris signs everywhere. Haven't seen one yet now. So Dan is saying, folks, that for the 2020 election, not just in 2020, but even in 2019, he saw, yay, Biden, yay, camel toes Harris. He saw their signs, yard signs, right? Not one in 2024. Even the Democrats out there, folks, understand this. Even the Democrats couldn't give a shit about their incumbent president. And I'll tell you the number one reason why. The number one reason why is everybody has been hit in the wallet. Everybody has been hit in the wallet. Right? Fuck, you go do this. Drive by any fast food joint. Drive to the drive-thru and look at the menu. What used to be a value meal, you get a Whopper, like a Whopper for $1 or $2, right? And a Coke was $1 and fries were $1. You could get a value meal for $5. Just say, I'm just picking on Burger King. You could get a Big Mac and a small fries and a small Coke for $4 or $5. It is now $12 to $20, depending on which restaurant and how big your hamburger is. Democrats are hurt as much as Republicans are hurt. It is now considered, get this, fast food, going out to any restaurant, including fast food restaurants. It's considered a luxury item by 60% of America. 60% of America does not have enough money in their budget to go to a restaurant. You should go through the drive-thru and go, hey, sorry, I just saw how expensive your food is. Gee, mini crickets, I'll pass. Too expensive. Tell them. Say, I can't believe what a freaking meal costs. I can't afford this. See you later. And just drive right on through. Tell them. And they know, folks, they know. Restaurants are going out of business. In some cases, entire restaurant chains are closing in California. Because in California, they now have a $20 minimum wage. Restaurants are like, you know what? We're firing people or we're just closing our restaurants. Pow. And that's just reason number one, in my opinion, Dan, is people are hurting in the pocketbook. Right? 40% of America is like, we're doing okay, no problem. Right? We got money for this, money for that. But I think just a few years ago, it was 50% of the country doesn't have more than $500 in their checking account. Like 50% of the country was living paycheck to paycheck. It sounds like we're up to 60% now. Anyways, the other reason they're not excited about Biden and Harris is all of the woke shit, all of the rainbow crap, all of the drag queen disgusting filth. Listen, the Democrats voted in Biden. Every Democrat either supported financially with votes or just verbally going, I love the Democrats, right? They voted in this evil. I don't think many of them are all that proud of it, but they would vote again. And if they were forced, they wouldn't be like you and stand up and go, I ain't voting for him for nothing, right? Crazy stuff. Anyways, thank you very much, Dan. Jolene, man, who is up next on the Prepared Mind channel? And it's Boomer out of Canada with a $20 super chat donation. And he says, what concerns me is that if all else fails for the Democrats and the globalists, and I think this is key, folks, and I'm going to stop right here with Boomer's comment because he's nailed it. You guys are brilliant. Boomer's nailed it. The United States government out of Washington, D.C. is not who is in charge of the United States government in Washington, D.C. It is not Hillary Clinton. It is not Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama and his husband, Michelle Obama. They're not in charge of the government. They work for the globalists. They are part of the corporatist, globalist governance system that uses money to control governments and money to control the people. Now I'm going to go back to your question comments. What concerns me is that if all else fails for the Democrats and the globalists are quite capable of starting a World War III due to the existing NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine. That's right. They have now moved NATO troops into Ukraine, not just mercenaries who have volunteered to go over there and fight. I don't know if they're getting paid or not, but they're like, yeah, I'd love to go fight the Russians. That's not the brightest damn thing. Anyways, the people most excited about fighting Russia are now dead. But now NATO troops are being pushed into Ukraine. If all else fails, folks, now this is key also. The globalists need the United States of America destroyed. They thought they owned America until Trump came along. And if you remember back in 2015, 2016, when Trump was first running for his first term, he was defeating and destroying all Republican candidates. All of them got their asses kicked by Trump in the debates and in the primaries. And the globalists went, oh, shit. And the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans and the Washington, D.C. elite went, oh, shit, we don't control Trump. Trump is a loose cannon. Now, Trump won the election, as we all know, defeated Hillary, who actually the night before said, I won. Well, they didn't cheat enough, and she lost. And she did, by the way, claim that Trump cheated. It was an unfair election. They need to recount. We need to object to this. And then she just went away because it wasn't even close. They couldn't get Trump out of office, but they did stonewall him and do everything they could to make him the least effective. Least effective. They don't want him back in there again. So if they cannot, if it's looking like, if all else fails, they can't kill him, jail him, arrest him again, screw him over, kick him off the ballots, they could. And I think, yes, you are right, Boomer, that they're quite capable of starting World War III. All they have to do is put a bunch of NATO troops, including and the Pentagon and the White House, Biden, are considering sending American troops in. Don't think for a second they could just send the army right in there, land them in Ramstein, and then troop carry them right on over. They could just bust them in there and line them up, and then, whoops, have a false flag missile attack and blame the Russians. It's possible. Is it probable? Not yet. Am I worried about it? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? In my opinion, not yet. But it does worry me. It does concern me as it concerns you, Boomer. Thanks for the great support. Jolene, man, where are we going to go next? I know we got a lot to talk about tonight. Hey, it's my good friend Carlos Granados from south of the border. I am very sorry, Carlos, that your country has once again elected a socialist. A socialist. So Carlos does a Mexican $191.10. That's like 500 American dollars, I believe. And anyways, Carlos says, hey, John. And Carlos has got a sense of humor, so let's see what he says. As you know, we had elections this month here in Mexico. Voter ID is mandatory in order to vote. What's the big fuss about it over there? Oh, yeah, no ghost votes. Vote for a felon or cuckoo. I tell you what. Oh, my gosh. You just brought up some fun stuff, Carlos. One of these days, man. One of these days, we got to get together and have some cerveza. No tequila. Cerveza only. And I love a good Negra Modelo, folks. Woo! Or is it Modelo Negra? Yeah, there you go. Anyways, that one. Bohemia's good. Pacifico's good. Simpatico's good. Good cervezas down there. Anyways, don't drink the water. So, Carlos, in Mexico, voter ID is mandatory in order to vote. The reason they don't want it here in America is because they need people to vote once, twice, 3 times, lady. They need people to vote. They need the dead to vote. They need dogs and cats to vote. They need people to vote in this district, that district, the other district, and then one next, and then go and drive around all day long, even drive across state lines. They need to be able to fill out voter ID cards and collect them and then give people the same card again and have them vote again and then bust them in. Now, in my world, Carlos, yeah, if you want to vote, you go to the polling station, the one that you're registered to vote in. And if you register in more than one place and you vote more than once, you go to jail. But up here in America, and perhaps you're not, and I don't know how you couldn't be aware. I know a lot of your question is rhetorical as well as satirical. The big fuss is they need all the votes they can get on the Democrat side. Now, they did such a fine job of cheating in the 2020 election. And I ain't shitting and I'm not exaggerating that in many political districts around the United States of America, from as far north as Minnesota and Wisconsin, as far south as Georgia, as far west as Arizona and Nevada, they had districts where there were more votes counted than there were people registered to vote. How is that possible to get more votes back than people that are even registered, Carlos? Now, I understand that in a lot of bad schools, kids don't learn how to count. 1 potato, 2 potato. 1 taco, 2 taco, right? 1, 2. Yeah, that's the problem. Dead people don't vote in Mexico. You guys are all right. But I think the reason they don't have to do that down there is enough of the people keep voting for fucking socialists. And I really don't know enough about Mexican politics. I do know that the Mexican drug cartels are very powerful in the areas they control. But I've got to tell you, some of the coolest, nicest, most fun people on the planet that I've ever met are Mexicans. And I know they're the good people, and they come up here to America to work and work their asses off in conditions that would kill me. Those are not the guys I'm worried about. The guys that get a green card or a work visa and come up here and work. It's the ones who show up that are not here to work or just come through Mexico across the Mexican border. They all need a swift kick in the ass and to be launched over the wall with a catapult. Anyways, God bless you, Carlos. Good to hear from you, brother. Semper Fi, man. And good luck with your president. Woo! She's not going to help Mexico out, folks. By the way, we're almost at 400 people live. I got a counter on my screen right here. Share that internet address. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't done it already. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. You've got to be a subscribe members just to get your comments on the board. I'm sorry, get your comments below. But if you want to get your comments on the board, you got to hit that super chat button up there. So hit that super chat button. Jolene Uman, who is up next? And it's Davey D with a $3.57. Woo! A $35.70 super chat donation. I got to tell you what, I got 2 of those 357s. One of them was my granddad's. He was a California Highway Patrol back in the 50s. The other one is my Smith & Wesson 686 with a 6-inch barrel, the adjustable silhouette sights, and an improved trigger. Anyways, Davey D says, I watched Saving Private Ryan for D-Day and tell all saying I stand with to go there. Folks, Saving Private Ryan was a very entertaining and great movie. It was difficult for me to watch. I watched it. The shaky camera, the running camera really scrambled up my brains and probably caused some sort of PTSD type thing. In any event, great movie about World War II. And it's a movie about people. You see, it always comes down to the politicians start a war. And it's over money and control and their failures in government. If governments could get along with governments and come to terms, we wouldn't have war. But once the war starts, it becomes about men fighting other men. Men joining and working together in a unit. And you have to rely on each other. And you have to have faith in each other and faith in what you're fighting for. And you have to believe in what you're fighting for. Back in World War I and then in World War II, men believed in fighting for America and for freedom and fighting against the enemy. Vietnam got a little shitty, didn't it? Korea wasn't that great either. Stomping the communists in Korea was pretty important. Vietnam got kind of nasty. We've had continue to have wars ever since then. But right, you love your country, and you fight for the people, and you protect one another. The Saving Private Ryan was a great movie. Another great war movie, even though this weekend was about D-Day. So Saving Private Ryan was about the D-Day landing, and it was, I think, well done. It really kind of showed you how just awful it was. It was an awful system, but they did overwhelm the Germans. And back then, you killed everyone and everything. You didn't let people go. It was a mess, folks. War is hell. Fuck. There's so many good stories out there, but I'll just stop right there. Thank you, Davey D, very much. Great super chat donation. Thanks for supporting the channel and what we do here, which is get people to wake up. Wake up. Like this. Understand, folks. World War II was about fighting the enemy in Europe. World War II was about fighting the enemy in the Pacific. Today, our fight is about fighting the enemy from within our country. Not with guns and bullets, not yet. But people need to wake up and realize that's where it's going. I want to remind everyone again, folks, that the people here are killing us. Our government is supporting Antifa, these crazed LGBT people who are violent, BLM, violent. More is coming out about the Nashville transgender, trans fruitcake, the manifesto that fruitcake wrote. The killer wrote, folks, in its manifesto about Columbine, that mass shooting. And also, the trans shooter wrote about the death of itself and wrote and scribbled. Picture came out, was released. It said, "Die, Aiden." The person hated itself. To me, it was 100% proof of the self-hatred that trans have. They hate themselves, so they want to transform into something else, another gender, another identity. How can you hate yourself that much that you want to change your name and change your gender even? It's proof to me of self-hatred. And that's why they trans. And then they realize after they transition that they're still not happy. And they blame you and me. They get violent. They look at you and me as Americans or Canadians or Mexicans or Europeans or Africans, people that are happy with themselves, and they hate you for it. And that's why they want to kill us. That's why they want kids to transition. They want to convince everyone to hate themselves and that it's great being a fruitcake. And then they hurt themselves with drugs, by mutilating their bodies, and then they're not happy. They're even less happy. They're morally unhappy with themselves. They're committing, I mean, look at these fruitcakes, these drag queen deranged freaks out there. They become one and join them. They commit all sorts of sexual depravity with them. And then they're like, yeah, I think I hate myself now. But get this, in Texas, at the Democratic Convention, the Texas Democrat Party Convention, they had another deranged fruitcake drag queen speaking. And what did this person do? They pushed, folks, the perverted criminal trans youth propaganda. Once again, they want to kill children one way or another. They want them sterilized. They want them groomed. They want them hurt. That's who these people are. We're now fighting World War III in our own country, believe it or not. They may start a war with Russia or China or Iran or North Korea. But we're fighting at home now for our lives. All right, enough of my crap. We're 90 minutes into the show, folks. 1.5 hours. We've got a half hour to go, or I'll stay as long as you guys want to talk. We've got $50 from Joshua through the thepreparedmind.club super chat donation. And you know what that means? I sure do. Woo! I tell you, tasty, tasty, tasty. Another single malt 15-year Glenlivet Scotch whiskey. It's a good-looking dog you got there, Joshua. Semper Fi, God bless America. Wake up, get prepared. Down the hatch, salut, prost, Semper Fi. Just so peaty. It's got, I love, it's either Glenlivet or Glenfiddich for me. Thank you, Josh. Whew. Yeah. Woo. And he says, thank you guys for all you do. I want to thank you, Joshua, and everybody who are watching live right now. It's you guys who will carry this message through the internet address to wake people up, to get them to see what's happening, to hear for themselves. Not hear, look, when I talk to people, I do convince people in my daily life to pay attention, wake up, get their head out their butt, right? But this is how we wake people up using social media, is this channel right here, right? The Prepared Mind. These videos wake people up. They may watch me 1, 2, 10 times, 20 times. There are people here who have been here from day one, like Red October, like Red, great guy. Uman's been here forever. Jolene's been here forever. Vaughn's been here forever. Right? A lot of you guys have been here forever. Other people came along as the show grew, and we've got, 80,400 subscribers. So a lot of people who check in from time to time. Thank you for what you guys do. I can't make people sign up. I can't make people share. I just ask you to do it for ourselves, right? It's like, I can't fix everything. We all have to do our little parts. We all play our little parts. My part is very little in getting people to wake up and start thinking and share the message. America first. Have pride in ourselves as America. It's not a race thing. It's not a gender thing. It's not a religious thing. It's an American thing, right? Freedom and liberty is how life gets good. It's what made America great the first time, and it can make America great again. But you can't make America great by being kind of free, right? You need the full First Amendment to say and do what you want. You put a stinking rainbow paint job on the ground, it's going to get run over. It's going to get burned out on. It's going to get set on fire. Because, folks, right? Pride literally is one of the 7 deadly sins. Is it not? Oh, man. 7 deadly sins. Pride, he's doing this. Yes, indeed. Right? I mean, to be proud, that's fine. But to be boastful and prideful, and these people are prideful of what? Cutting their dicks off? Cutting their tits off? Having anal sex with some sweaty guy in the back of a bar or at a Greyhound bus station? Giving monkeypox to all their buddies? How is that something to be proud of? Right? If I went to a children's school and started talking to them about my sexuality, right, that's perverted and sick. Yet these people are all about it. Here, they're like handing kids coloring books on how to be gay and what to do. It's filthy. That's not what being an American is. That's not what being proud of being a human is, and taking pride in oneself. Not to where you have to go scream it in other people's faces, but just pride in yourself. Not thinking you're better than others. That's what they think pride is. Right? No, it's just being good as a decent human being. Good golly. Anyways, Joshua, great drink. I got on my high horse there. Woo! Thank you, Joshua. Okay, Jolene, ooh, man, where are we going to roll next? Dan Erickson is back with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, during the 4 years of Donald J., I always had a tax return check every year. Under Brandon, have paid every year. Big, big, big dollars. I agree, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And everyone I've talked to, normally they get a tax return. They've overpaid. They get back $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, depending on how much they pay in. This year, I have heard nothing but people complain that they didn't get money back. In fact, their accountant gave them a fucking bill. I mean, a very close friend of mine said, "Hey, John, I was supposed to get $2,000 back. I had to pay $2,000 more on top of everything else. I pay taxes, federal. I pay taxes, state. I stuff that I buy, I pay a sales tax. I want to drive my car, I got to pay a registration tax. I got to pay a property tax. If I make more money, I got to pay more tax." And look, folks, and I don't think Dan is exaggerating, because this has been my experience in all the reports I've got. They have raised our taxes on top of the inflation, and the inflation is a tax on just having money. Literally, if your money buys less, it means your paycheck is less. You may still get, let's just say your paycheck, you make $50,000 a year, or you make $75,000 or $100,000 a year. But if it only buys you, instead of 50, 75, and 100, if it only buys you 42, right, 68, and $90,000 worth of goods, you've taken a frickin' pay cut just because of inflation. But we're talking about taxes, which is a direct tax, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. But don't worry, since we're operating under public policy and not law, they can do what they want to us. And Biden and the IRS have upped our taxes. I don't remember voting for that. Has anyone voted to pay taxes, much less raise the taxes we're being charged? No. I tell you, Dan, man, taxes is pissing people off. I know people that they've had to go get loans to pay their taxes. And they're not business owners, they're employees. They don't have enough cash to pay their taxes after paying taxes all year. It makes me very angry because America should be wealthy. Instead, they tax the shit out of us and what? Send it to Israel? Send it to Ukraine? Hundreds of billions of dollars going overseas. The government of the United States of America is going in the hole $1 trillion every 3 months, every 100 days. They're going in more debt. And we're just supposed to pay it. I can't work any harder. I can't put in any more hours in the day. Sometimes I'm working before the sun comes up, as you guys know, and I work past the sunset. And then there's got to be time for John to live, right? Which was great this weekend, as usual. I take off my Saturday and most of Sunday, and I went out and I did some aquatic adventures and got some exercise and did some physical training. Did not get bit by any snakes or alligators, but you know, I mean, still. At least I can go get in the water and not get charged or taxed for it. Wow, I hear you, Dan. It just pisses me off. Because I know that you and I, as Americans, all of us as Americans, could spend our money more wisely and spend it in America, giving money to Americans to produce American goods and services and make America a better place instead of sending it overseas. Or giving it to the government so it can blow it on what the how many military bases are there around the world? How many hundreds? Is it 500, 600, 700 bases that are, and I don't know, is it what, 300, 400 that are not in America? They're in other countries. It's crazy. Well, by the way, speaking of military bases in other countries, Niger has kicked America out 100%. Joe Biden, President of the United States of America, could not negotiate with the country of Niger and keep the base there, which is valued at $100 million, could not negotiate with them in such a way to keep the military base there, which was only there to help facilitate and control the country of Niger for American business purposes. France was there for the same reason. Now the Russian military is there and says, we'll help you, country of Niger, fight the terrorists and protect the people and the country of Niger from extremism and being screwed over by other countries. Apparently, the country of Niger had no faith in either France or the United States government. All right, let's continue. We got some more super chat donations, more questions from you guys. Who's up next? We have Steve Demetrius with a $2 super chat donation. And Uman, yes, who eats one White Castle? Come on, man. Who ate one White Castle? Who? Man, Uman says he doesn't know. Who eats one White Castle? Did someone eat one today? Did Biden eat one White Castle? Was it Kamala Harris? I bet she could put 6 of those in her fucking mouth. And I don't want to get graphic, right? That's a big mouth. Wow. No one eats one White Castle, Steve. No one. No, you've got to eat at least 4. All right. Let's do this. Thank you very much for the support, Steve. Who is up next? Who's got something to say? And it's Boomer, and he's back with another $20 super chat donation. And he says, I can no longer watch movies of wars we fought in the past because it sickens me that after all of that bloodshed, the end result became us collapsing our own borders. Literally, we fought in other countries, Canada, America, European nations, fought for freedom and liberty. I tell you what, folks, I was fucking livid. There was a World War II veteran for D-Day. I think he was in New York City. Uman, correct me if I'm wrong. In New York City, He was in a parade, and there are a bunch of pro-Palestinian Democrat idiots. Get this, idiots on the side of the road insulting him. And I think he got down. And folks, if you fought at age 20 in 1940, that's 60 years to get to 2000. So to get to 2000, you are now 80 years old. It is 2024. This guy had to be 100 years old. And I know a lot of veterans, folks, because I talked to them in the past. They enlisted to fight in World War II. Age 17, age 16, they lied to get in to go fight and stomp Nazis. So, okay. So 1945 is 55 years plus 15 years. And now we're up to 55, 15, a little bit clouded here. 70 plus 24 years. Okay, it's 94 years old. As young as 94 years old, right? He got pissed off. And he says, you like your freedom, right? And then he turned around and said, someone give me a gun, right? This 90-plus-year-old American World War II veteran wanted to wax these communist scumbags, and I think he called them communists too, in New York that were insulting him and every one of his brothers that died in World War II. I hear what you're saying, Boomer. I hear you, man. The people that died, even, okay, yeah, in the Gulf Wars, in Afghanistan, in Vietnam, in Korea, in Grenada, in every special ops, special military operation where Americans have gone in and trying to rescue the hostages in 1979, right, that have died fighting for our country, just to watch our military be taken over by a bunch of fruitcakes, absolute fruitcakes. It is disgusting, folks. The left wing is disgusting. Okay, thank you, Boomer. Great super chat donation and topic. Thank you, sir, very much. Mr. Uman, Jolene, who's up next? We've got Shelly Chavers with a $20 super chat. Good to see you, Shelly. She says, watch the news on D-Day. There it is. Saw a D-Day veteran, 98 years old, kissing Zelensky's hand and thanking him for his patriotism. Meanwhile, Biden was on his opposite side, smiling with approval. This is just wrong. How to address this? It sounds like this D-Day veteran at age 98 probably didn't know who Zelensky is and what Zelensky does and what Zelensky represents. Zelensky is the leader of the most corrupt nation on the planet, Ukraine, meaning the government is corrupt. Zelensky is undoubtedly, without a doubt, a complete sexual reprobate. He was a comedian, an actor, a singer, and a flaming fruitcake. Light in the loafers, skinny jeans wearing, butt pirate. And his special forces in Ukraine are Nazis. And I think it's wrong that this 98-year-old man kissed his hand. That's awful. I don't think they told the 98-year-old man what Zelensky does and who he is and who he works for and why. And by the way, Zelensky continues to buy million-dollar estates, multi-million-dollar estates with the money that was supposed to go to Ukraine to help them, fight. Instead, it is just one of the most filthy things ever, what they're doing to the country of Ukraine and to the Ukraine people. Shelly, thank you very much for the great donation, the support that you always give. Everyone, great support here on the Prepared Mind channel. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue Woo! Who's next? Who's up? What are we going to talk about? It's up to you guys. It is Sunday Night Live. Dan Erickson is back again with another $5 super chat donation. And he says, if Don, as in Donald John Trump, if President Trump, if Cheeto Man, if Orange Man, right, if Make America Great Again, Mr. Trump, would have been good friends with Jeffrey Epstein, the client list would be released. I see where you're going with this. Yeah, see, Jeffrey Epstein arrested. His partner in crime, or one of them, Jizzy Maxwell, arrested, and she's in prison. They had a little black book, the client list. If Donald Trump had been on that client list, guess how quickly that would have been made public in order to destroy Trump and call him a pedophile, call him a sex trafficker. They tried, folks. They searched, they scoured the internet. They found a picture that had Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein in it together. I think it was from way back in the 90s, but the facts came out. As soon as Trump found out what a lech and who knows what else he discovered about Epstein, he gone, done. No more association. But there are a number of current and former American politicians and judges and businessmen who are on that list, who are on the flight logs on the Lolita Express down to the pedo island itself, that haven't been made public. And I just, and I feel bad for some people. I wonder how many people were told, hey, man, let's go down. This Epstein dude's cool, man. We can go down to his island and it's party, man. There's whatever they say it is there. And they got down there and they probably went, holy schnit, what have I gotten myself into? I don't know. I wasn't one of them. I'm a nobody. I am not in that club, folks, and I know none of you are either. But just wow. And yes, folks, they would have destroyed Donald Trump. It wouldn't have taken 5 milliseconds. Get this. Oh, Michael Cohen, one of Trump's former attorneys, Michael Cohen, the one who committed perjury, been thrown in jail, who was the star witness for New York City's district attorney, Alvin Bragg, right? Michael Cohen, he claims Trump's. Get this. Now, did Michael Cohen, did he get a ride down to Epstein's island? I don't know. But he's certainly singing like a canary when it comes to helping the Democrats try and destroy Trump. Now Michael Cohen is saying Trump is going to assassinate his political enemies. This is the quote from a serial lawyer, Michael Cohen. Quote, people will start flying out of windows, end quote. Oh, man, I tell you, that's how much Trump derangement syndrome has warped the brains, folks, even from a former ally of Trump's. They'll say anything they can to destroy him. They'll try and get people all wound up to try and destroy Trump. Period. This Michael Cohen guy, how is a convicted, jailed, perjured, liar, attorney, liar, thief, liar, how is he a star witness? How is a porn star a star witness that's credible? I mean, talk about how hard is it to blackmail. She'll do anything for money, but, she's very trustworthy in court. In fact, now we've discovered, it's come out, that the jury, at least one juror on the jury that convicted Trump of no crime at all, guilty of no crime, was given a sack full of cash. Am I incorrect on that, Mr. Uman? Did I hear that right? He's doing the head nod. At least one person has claimed they got a sack full of cash. to convict Trump of nothing. How does that make you feel, America, that a former president can be hated so much by his political enemies that they can throw money at a jury to find him guilty of doing absolutely nothing so they can try and destroy him? Yeah. And we're worried about Trump assassinating people. Ooman says $120,000 in that sack. That's a sack of cash right there. Was that tax-free, Ooman? Is that person going to pay taxes? Folks, didn't the IRS come out last year and tell drug dealers and other criminals that they need to claim the money that they make in doing their jobs so that they can pay their fair share? I think they did. That's how that's the naivete and ridiculous retardation coming out of DC, that they really think drug dealers and prostitutes or pimps, if you will, are going to pay taxes on the cash. Good golly. I tell you what, folks, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, get this, the just the absolute thievery and ridiculousness of the Democrats. In Minnesota, a jury has found, get this, 5 out of 7 Somalis, that is people from Somalia living in America, 5 out of 7 of the Somali defendants were found guilty. What did they do? They committed $250 million in fraud. They got $250 million in COVID money. This person was bribed with a bag of cash. Just how the hell do these terrorist-looking bastards get that much money just given to them? I mean, they sign up and they're like, government's like, just back up the truck and dump the cash. And then jurors are like, hey, over in New York, they're like, yeah, I'll take some cash. Apparently there's bags of cash just falling out of the sky, landing on people. What do I need to do? Go outside on top of the bunker and paint a target and say, drop cash here? Crazy stuff. It's fucking crazy, right? And but you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative like PragerU, Google is going to censor and remove your app from the Play Store because they claim that by having morals and decency and speaking out against your political enemies, that's hate speech. What PragerU, they did a documentary exposing the violent, murderous, religious wackos in Islam. They're the radical jihadis that want to kill everyone, and they've told us that. Death to America, death to Israel, from the river to the sea, kill all Jews, kill all Americans. Oh, how dare you do a video documentary exposing that, where it comes from, how it's done, et cetera, right? Now, if there were Nazis, white supremacists that are saying those sorts of things in a documentary come out, I'd be like, good, put that documentary out. If you had a bunch of, I don't know, radical Buddhists out there, right? And there was a documentary exposing their murderous hatred or any murderous hatred from some religious group, I want it out there. If it's a lie, it'll be exposed and put down. But when it's the fact and truth, shouldn't that be out there? Crazy stuff. Let's do this. Let's do another super chat from you guys and get the topic right here on the screen. Woo, man, and it's Dan Erickson again with another $5 super chat. I'm running out of gas. I think, what's my record, man? 3 hours and 47 minutes or 3 hours and 44 minutes, 44 minutes, right in there. 3:45. We actually did that one time a couple of years ago. And that we just kept doing more super chats. I think that, wow. Anyways, Dan says, when Ukraine finally capitulates, Zelensky will be in another country with our money. I think you could be right, Dan. I'm sure that little weasel is stealing all the cash he can and putting it in bank accounts that are numbered and laundering the shit out of it. If he was as smart as he is evil, he will get the best lawyers to launder his money for him and put it in foreign corporations to protect it from being confiscated and stolen. At the same time, Dan, I think that when Ukraine finally gives up and has to sue for peace with Russia, and Russia is still saying, anytime you dummies want, come to the table, we'll talk peace. I think Zelensky will find himself dead. I think whether or not his money has fled the country, which I agree with you, I think that Zelensky will find himself dead. I think he'll be executed. I mean, there could be other Zelensky lookalikes that are left behind to be killed. Folks, when Hitler was fighting in World War II, his Italian Axis partner, Benito Mussolini, he was hung from a lamppost by his toes. The people killed the leaders when they find out that they've been lied to, cheated, and screwed over. Right? So, yeah, I think, I don't know, does anyone even teach anything about Benito Mussolini? It seems that they don't teach anything about Pol Pot and Chairman Mao and Stalin and Lenin and Trotsky. They don't teach about, Hitler even, how many people he killed. And they're all socialists, all of them. Right? They're all socialists. Even Zelensky, if he's a Nazi, Nazis are social fascists. Look out. Thank you, Mr. Erickson, yet again for your great support. Thank you, and thank you, man. Woo! What a show. Oh, man, my brains get racked, I tell you. Let's do this. I don't want anyone to forget, folks, that while they're trying to get a war started in Ukraine, they're trying to get a pandemic started around the world. And Elon Musk has doubled down on his attacks of Anthony Fauci, Dr. Doom. And he released, and I copied it and sent it out in a YouTube post. It's a picture of Anthony Fauci that says, "You're all beagles to me anyway." If you remember, Dr. Fauci put beagle dogs as part of his science that we're supposed to trust. Put them in cages and made it so that their heads were sticking out and they were eaten alive by flies. Just awful. But that's what he thinks of all of humanity by doing his experiment. That's what Elon Musk put out there. Folks, that is incredible. It is coming out. It is coming out. All of the pain and suffering. Darcy T sent me another one, folks, another one, a college super athlete. Well, he was a college super athlete, dead, age 42. No cause of death. Just a thought, man. Just a thought. Josh Maravich, dead at 42. Take a wild guess. Look. Now, here's what I have to say. When you're a young athlete, you tend to stay in shape as an athlete your whole life. I mean, some people let themselves go, right? I'm now 54. I cannot do what I did at age 40 or age 30 or in my 20s, but I still try and stay in pretty good shape, right? I try and eat good and I try and exercise as much as I can. I try and stay in good shape, good health. So these super athletes, they're the same way, but they're dying. Suddenly, they're dying. And get this, folks, doctors around the world are continuing to say it's not good. And morticians, if you will, undertakers, if they're called that in some countries, they're continuing to pull giant, unbelievable clots out of people's bodies that are dead and saying, this is not normal. And on top of everything else, folks, now in the United States of America, we've talked about Japan and the fact that their high officials are apologizing to the public now and saying millions of Japanese are dying. They're diseased. They're dying from the Jim Jones juice. And now in the United States of America, this is no bullshit. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, that's federal court, folks. The Ninth Circuit has also been called for decades the Ninth Circus Court because it includes California and Hawaii and the West Coast. That's the Ninth Circus Court. Even though it is a circus, it still has ruled that the mRNA Jim Jones juice is not, under medical definitions, a vaccine. It is not. That is what the court has ruled based on evidence provided in court. Period. What do you think of that? What do you think of that, right? Crazy. And there's more, folks. Oh, there's so much more. There is so much more going on having to do with the Jim Jones juice and the whole system just coming apart at the seams. We're at 2 hours. Jolene said there's another super chat donation. You guys are in charge of this show. I'm going to let you take over again. What are we going to talk about? What's next? And it is Robert Saunders with a $5 $5 super chat donation. And he says, just found your channel. Love your honesty. I'll tell you what, Robert, I tell it like it is as much as I can get away with. He says, I watched your silver video from years ago, but could you tell me what online silver company you trust? Okay. This is important, and I want everyone to pay attention. I have bought silver in the past for myself, and I recommend watching those videos. Now, back then when I did those videos, silver was $17, $18. At one point, it dropped down below $13, bounced back up, and it is now close to $30. So in the last 7 years, silver has gone up 50%. Not bad, right? It's gone up a lot more, and if you add the premium, it's even higher. So if you think of it as an investment, it's done well. If you think of it as preserving your wealth, that is the buying power of your currency, rather than having it somewhere else. And you could have been in Wall Street, and you could have done better and doubled it or tripled it or quadrupled it, done a 10-bagger. I don't know, right? But if you just want to preserve your wealth, gold and silver, do it. Now, with respect to the question, what online silver companies do I trust? I have bought for myself and my family and for other investors. I have talked about and purchased from AppMex, APMEX. I have purchased from SD Bullion, and also from I have called a couple of times from Miles Franklin, going through he's changed his name, Reluctant Preppers, Dunnigan Kaiser. Thank you. Whew, boy, I drew a blank there. I must have killed those brain cells with some scotch. Now, I recommend all of those companies. Where are you going to get the best price? It won't be from AppMex, American Precious Metals Exchange. They charge a higher premium than SD Bullion. Franklin Mint, you can call them and get a price. You can price out all the different companies. SD Bullion, to me, has always had the fastest delivery. They're faster than AppMex, and they're faster than Miles Franklin. and they've always had the best or one of the best prices, period. So I do, if I were to rate them and say these are who I would, if I had cash to go buy gold and silver from, I would do SD Bullion, Miles Franklin, or Atmex. Those are the three I'd want. Now, I know that there's other companies out there. There's Pimbex, there's JM Bullion, there's other companies, but I prefer SD Bullion. We got a right up here, Silver Stack, this address right here. Go ahead and copy that down, write it down, and check it out. But yeah, wealth preservation. You need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need your plan. You need to understand yourself, where you're at, the 10-mile radius around you to protect yourself, your family, your community, etc. in bad times coming. But if you've got extra wealth, you've got cash, and you don't trust Wall Street, or you don't trust your bank because it could cash in, you may want to consider gold and silver as a way to preserve wealth and protect it by taking possession of it physically. Once again, 7 years ago, you could have bought silver at $16, $17, $14, $12, and silver's ran up to almost 33 plus premium, and all the way back down now to $30. And I expect this week silver to take off again. It's not financial or investment advice. That's not what I'm giving you. I'm talking about preserving your wealth in such a way that the bank can't confiscate it because it's no longer in the bank. Just an idea, just a thought. Do your own research, make your own decisions, accept responsibility for your own life. That's where I go with that. But I do like gold and silver. In fact, I keep this one near and dear. That right there is United States Marine Corps. It's a 1 ounce silver coin. It's not a coin. It's a round. It is not a sovereign coin. If I were to recommend which coin to buy, if you were to buy a sovereign coin, whether it's gold or silver, American Gold Buffalo, or the American Silver Eagle, and then, of course, Canada would be next, the Maple Leafs. They usually have a premium that you have to pay, but when you sell them, you can get a premium back. But anything you buy, I think, is safer than a bank that's going out of business. And while I'm not trying to fearmonger or scare anybody, we're continuing to hear that banks are not as safe as they used to be, that there's a lot of debt out there that's coming due. Commercial real estate, bad loans, etc. This is the world we're in. Now, Robert says, thank you. I noticed you seem to prefer silver rounds versus silver currency. Is that still the same? Let me put it this way. I think Uman sent me a message earlier saying that the websites out there that are selling currency, silver currency, that is to say the American Silver Eagle, it's got a $5 or a $6 premium. So whatever the per ounce price is, let's just say it's 30, and it's got a $5 premium. You're going to pay $35 for that 1 ounce. Whereas if you buy a silver round, which is minted by a private mint, it's not minted by the U.S. Mint, you're going to pay probably a $2.50 to $3.50 premium. So in both cases, you get 1 ounce of silver. One you're going to pay more for. And then there is junk silver, which is not a great way to describe it, but that's one of the names it has. The other one is constitutional money, or pre-1965, that is to say 1964 and backwards, silver quarters, silver half dollars, silver dollars, and silver dimes. They are 90% silver. They used to have a bad name, bad rap, calling them junk silver. They're still 90% silver. This was money that was in circulation. It was currency, right? coins used to be made out of silver. There used to be gold coins too as well that were, well, they were exchanged in business, right? Silver coins, silver currency, constitutional money. They removed that back in the 1930s. The gold made everyone turn their gold in, made gold illegal to own, also unconstitutional, but they did it. And so I prefer any silver over paper. I prefer any gold over paper. It is very liquid, meaning if you want to turn it back into paper dollars, I can take this, which is a round, silver round, or I could take a silver eagle to a coin shop and get spot or spot plus premium for it. So I prefer all things. It's just, do you want to pay a high premium? Like when I had money in my life, I could go and buy either silver eagles or maple leafs or kangaroos or Britannias or Austrian Philharmonics. I could buy those. And the premium at that time, folks, on a silver eagle was $1.75, $2, $2.50. And that was a lot. I was like, hey, man, I ain't paying that. I'm only going to pay $1 or 90 cents for a maple leaf. Or I could buy, constitutional, formerly done currency for 50 cents over spot. Now, the constitutional 90% silver money that used to be in circulation, now the premium on that is very high. For a while, it was up to $6, $7, $8 an ounce. Absolutely off the hook. I think it's dropped back down, but it's a Wild West shootout. So my thought is, Mr. Saunders, is do what makes you feel the most comfortable. Right? You've got to choose for yourself. Do you want to pay a high premium, or do you want to get the most ounces? Right? For someone who's going to buy, 5, 10, or 20 silver eagles, they may be willing to pay because it's not a lot of money. But if you've got $10,000 out there and you're like, I want to buy a bunch of eagles, right? If you're paying $5 an eagle to fill that $10,000 order, you're looking at, a high percentage, 10, 15, 20%, whatever the number is. It's a big freaking number percentage wise to pay out in a premium. Are you guaranteed to get that back? My answer is no, you're not guaranteed, but premiums may go even bigger on the dollar scale, percentage or dollar, right? They could go as high as $10 or $20 per coin premium if, say, silver jumps to $40, $50, $60 an ounce and people start buying up like crazy, knowing it's going to go even higher, or believing or thinking it could go higher. And I think over the next, yes, Mr. Uman, over the next few years, I think silver could go very high. It just depends on what's going to in the market. There we are. Mr. Uman's in the house. Let's do it, dude. What do you have to contribute to the precious metal conversation?
Evening, folks. Well, what I was going to say was that I have a mix of both coins and rounds. And the difference is, if you buy the coins, you're not buying it for just the silver value. You're hoping that there's going to be some what they call numismatic or collector's value in the future that you're going to be able to capitalize on and say, 2024, they only ran so many silver eagles and those are more rare than the others. You're going to be able to get well above the silver price for those things. Now, if you're just looking to accumulate as much silver as possible, silver rounds or even silver bars, I think silver bars are even more economical if you're just looking to accumulate as much metal as possible for the lowest price.
Right. Yeah, the premiums, I think, on like a 10-ounce silver bar or a 100-ounce, the premiums go down, economy of scale going up. Some of them are very attractive. I used to take a look at the Royal Canadian Mint have 1 ounce and 10-ounce bars. Very attractive serial numbers on the 10-ounce bars. They look great. And then, like I think some of the other private mints make attractive bars. A bar is just a square bar, a
Correct.
brick.
Yeah, the reason a lot of people like to get the coins is because they are more recognized and wouldn't be as likely to be looked at as fakes. Like I have Eagles, I have Maple Leafs, Britannias, and Philharmonics, stuff like that. And those are more universally recognized as currency. So there's a trade-off. I mean, are you going to pay $3 to $5 a coin for a round in a premium, or do you want to pay the Eagles today? I think they were going somewhere between $7 and $12 a coin premium, depending on quantity and how you pay.
Okay. Well, there's different ways to pay. You can pay, I think, with Bitcoin. You can pay with a credit card. You can pay with ACH transfer.
Yeah.
So,
wire transfer is the cheapest way. And then again, they have quantity discounts. Usually if it's, they'll give you one price for 1 to 19 and then 20 to 50 or whatever. But if you want to really get that cheapest price that's closest to their advertised as low as price, you got to buy you got to buy 100 coins, and you got to pay by ACH or wire transfer.
Right, that'll get you the lowest premium, lowest cost.
Right.
Now I mentioned APMEX, SD Bullion. I think I did say JM Bullion is another company that's out there. Miles Franklin, do you have any other companies that you want to talk about?
Well, I used Provident Metals a couple times. My go-to is SD, just because they usually have, like you said, the lowest price, the best deals, and the fastest shipping.
Right.
JM has a little bit more variety if you're looking for, some more collector type coins. I think that's where I got you that Bitcoin one, and I like a series called the Chrono series from the Toculus Islands or whatever it is. I think those are kind of cool, so I'll buy one of those every year. Stuff like that you're not going to find at SD. You will find it JM, but it is a little more expensive.
Right. Yeah, there's some coins out there. I mean, there's some serious collectible stuff. The British Mint, which is a sovereign mint, did those Queen's Beasts a number of years ago.
Yes.
And they were a 2-ounce coin, but they're beautiful. All the different mythical beasts. They're collectors, but they're still worth what they're worth in silver. But, some of them are collectible, and so they may have a higher value in the future in and above the weight of the silver. But
yeah, I remember when I first started this, there's a coin shop in the area here that is very reputable, and my wife's family used them for many, many years, knew the owners, did a lot of jewelry and transactions with them. And when I first got into it, I went into there and I made them an offer on all their odd silver rounds, not coins, just rounds. And they gave me a great price. It was something like $250 over spot. And that was back when silver was still running in the $17, $18 range. And I bought a whole bunch of really cool ones, just odds and ends stuff, from like the Republican National Convention. I got a little Herbie the Love Bug one. And I just said, I just want as much silver as I can, as cheap as I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I got started.
That I did that when I was getting in California. I was helping people, and they're like, "Hey, I want to buy some silver," and went to a silver shop in Reno, Nevada, and basically bought the guy out. And he had all kinds of odds and ends, from private mints, and he gave me like everything. He's like, just do everything for $1 premium, and half of it was Eagles, and I was like, holy cow, But he didn't care. He was like, hey, man, a lot of this stuff is it's just been laying around in his store. This is before a big push. This is back when, no one was talking about silver. No one wanted it. This is back when it first started, and then other people got interested in it because they realized it was unloved and it was as the banking issue became a bigger deal, even back in the 20s, 2016, 2017, people there, they were seeing it as a good deal, and they got into it back then.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I want to caution everybody about too is that, right now we saw silver take a huge run up, and then we just saw it get knocked down again. When it was running up like that, we had a friend of the channel contact me and ask me my opinion about buying silver right now and where. And that was when it was over 30, 31 or whatever. And I said, well, I would be very careful. Don't make knee-jerk reactions, and don't chase the run up. There's always going to be a little bit of a pullback or something. And once you see where that floor settles out at, then maybe make that decision. Don't get caught up in the fear of missing out thing.
Right. Well, and that's just it. How do you do it? Do you just go, look, I know it's going to go up, or I believe it's going to go up, so I'm going to go buy everything in one shot? Or do you buy a little now and then wait for it to go up and then down again and buy a little and just kind of buy at the lows and then watch it go to the next high and then buy it? I don't know what the best way to do it is, but
I just kind of want
chasing it up is not good.
No, I always try to watch the trends, and if I got a little bit extra money, I'll wait for a dip. And I mean, I never get it as cheap as I got it for the first time, so you're always averaging the price. And there have been times I paid way too much for it, and a few weeks later I could have saved like $3, $4, or $5 an ounce. But you average it over time, and you just got to kind of make those calls. But I advise everybody to not buy as it's running up.
Yeah, it's tricky business. Just remember that you're exchanging paper for something that's real. It'd be like I think that if you don't have 3 or 6 months worth of food, that buying food right now is a great investment. With the inflation, the cost of food going up, how much was a can of pork and beans 5 years ago?
50, 70 cents.
Now it's $1.50.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
So if you look at it, if you need to spend this next week, don't buy it this week, because you're gonna pay a premium for it. But if you've got excess, wealth, and you want to save it, that's a way to do it. But do your own homework, do your own research, talk to an expert. I'm just a rank amateur.
We're just telling you what we do. We're not giving you financial advice. And you also got to remember, silver is not something you can get in and out of quickly and easily, because you're number one, you're paying that premium up front. And then also when you go to sell it back, they usually want to either pay you no more than spot or spot minus. Yeah. So you gotta cover a bigger gap. Silver is not a good liquid position to have.
It's liquid, but you're not going to get all of your money back out of it.
Yeah, it's got to run up a lot more before you break even on that buyer's premium and whatever discount there might be on this back end.
Because the dealer makes money when he sells it to you. The dealer makes money when he buys it from you.
Yes.
Understanding that it's a way to save your wealth. It's not necessarily a way that you're gonna make a ton of money in a week. Like I said, you've got to be in it for years and years and years and allow things to go through their processes.
Right. It's not like if you have $10,000, you put it into your trading account online and you pay a $6 trading fee and then another $6 on the way out.
Yeah.
$12 on $10,000 is nothing, but that is going to be a much bigger number on $10,000 worth of silver.
Maybe a way to say it, Uman, is it's not a speculative investment.
Yeah.
It's not for speculating and trading. It's for preserving wealth.
Right. And it's not something I recommend anybody get into before they got all their other bases covered.
Oh, yeah. You got to pay all your bills and take care of everything. It's for excess wealth that you want to protect and take out of the system and buy in physical. So, again, it's been money for thousands of years, and it's still worth money.
Yep.
Anyways, Jolene says we got another super chat donation.
Oh, yeah.
It could be about silver or gold. So let's take a look at it. What's up there? Who's got something to say? And what do we got?
It's about fiat currency. It's about fiat currency and scotch.
Well, I'm doing good tonight, man. I'm doing good tonight. Not too crazy, just enough to keep me well lubricated. Thank you, Blue Cord Devil. He did a 50, so we got another Glenn Levitt coming my way. Not to be set up. Blue Cord Devil, go and watch the very beginning when I light one on fire, then drink it. That was dangerous. I could have spilled it on myself and then caught myself on fire. Like I said last week when Dan gave me the good challenge, I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not used to lighting stuff on fire. Anyways, here's to you, Blue Cord Devil.
I wasn't so sure as to how well 80 proof would burn.
It got the glass hot because I let it burn while I was farting with it.
Yeah.
Woo! That one tasted like it was on fire. Anyways, he says, good evening. Sorry for being late. We'll rewatch later. You bet, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support, Blue Cord Devil. Hope all is going well for you. Anyways, I think we kind of covered. I'm a big believer in protecting your wealth. You can do it by buying real estate, buying things that are valuable. Other precious metals are, copper and lead, brass and steel. Yeah, cold blue steel. To me, that's a precious metal. But silver and especially gold are extremely dense, right? That's like a silver dollar, except it's not worth $1. It's worth right now $32. If you count the cost of the silver and the premium, it would cost me $32 to buy that.
Yeah, and if you're going to invest in that kind of a store of wealth in any kind of volume, you also want to make sure you invest in something that's going to keep that safe while it's in your possession.
What do they call that? You're a midnight gardener. You've got a very good safe that can't be carried off. You hide it. Some people actually pay to keep their money in like a Loomis or a Brinks vault system. So a lot of different ways, but do some planning, do some research, figure it out for yourself. There's a lot of information out there that'll help you preserve your wealth, as well as channels like this that'll get you prepared. Holy cow, we're almost at 2.5 hours, Mr. Uman. Running out of gas here. Got my last scotch in there. That was great. That'll send me off to sleep really nicely tonight. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mr.
You didn't end it soon enough.
There it is.
Now the troublemakers are coming out. I'm watching you there, Blue Cord.
Like I said, let's not abuse the John, but I do appreciate it. And really, the scotch, right? The super chat donations do pay the bills. They keep us going. Everything. I just, you guys you're that awesome. Thank you again, Blue Cord Devil. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. I really couldn't afford it. I'd be working a second job, a third job. You stay down there. This one right here. Woohoo! Semper Fi. Prost. God bless America. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Thank you, Blue Cord Devil.
All right, folks. Well, I'm going to sign off and let John close it out before any of you other troublemakers get any ideas. So have a good week.
Mother's milk, man. Mother's milk. Blue Cord says, I did burn my neck back in the Army when someone bought me a flaming shot and I didn't blow it totally out. Man, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, man. I tell you. Have fun. Be safe. I would never tell anyone try and drink a lit drink. Don't do it. Don't do it. But anyways, thank you, Blue Cord Devil. We miss you. We need you. We need all of you. We need you to share that internet address right up there. Woo! I need to get something to eat, man. These are going to hit me like a ton of bricks right now. Semper Fi to all. God bless America. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. You guys be safe this week. I'll be back 0 dark 30 in the morning.